can see as South Sudanese, of course, like my brother said, they look at you and obviously. So, the future with Wakimbizi, please excuse my voice, I have a cough. I don't know how to start, but all these things that were said are right. And I'm a student and understand how it feels when you go through circumstances that you cannot avoid. We have a lot of things as refugees that we go through that we have nothing to avoid, because just because you're a refugee, you cannot intervene into some things. I want to start with a personal story about the inclusivity of the business and the economy. I wanted to speak before, but there was no time. So I live in a hostel, and life is really hard. You have to try by all means to live. So God has gifted us differently, and God has gifted me with fashion and making hair, makeups, and all that. So I decided to start a business, I came up with a poster and wrote something on my door. Please feel free to reach out if you need some makeup or anything at a cheaper price so that I can also live as a student. Guess what happened? After like 1 week, people came and confronted me. You're not supposed to do this. You are Musudi. Why would you do this in this place? You're not allowed. Guess what I felt? I was so much emotionally damaged, but I had nothing to do but to give up. So somebody said, if you continue this, you're going to pay us. So if you pay us, we are going to allow you to continue with this. Where would I get money to pay? In my university, yes, I'm a student, and I passed highly just like any other person, but I'm given a different fee structure. I don't know if it's the government section or it's the policy, because the percentage which I pay is almost twice the amount of money that the normal students pay. So I start asking myself, is it because I'm a refugee? I'm supposed to actually be given for free. So I'm even paying extra. It's another challenge. So you can imagine, we are here to speak up for others, but there are people down there who cannot speak up for themselves. Things are not just like the way we think. Like he said, they're just written in papers, but people are going through a lot. I have a friend who has even dropped out from school just because the fee is higher. There is humiliation in class just because you're very tall, because you're very dark. You're not given that respect because you're from South Sudan, because you're a refugee from another country. You don't have the chance to interact just like any other person. And it really damages people's emotions. So to me, I really think there's a lot to do. We have a lot of things to do. It's not like we just have the papers and we have the writings, but if we go to the field, we see how people are going through. People are going through a lot. And to my recommendation, somebody said about scholarships. Yes, I understand that the government and the international NGOs are really trying everything possible to make sure that the refugees are included in every aspect of life. But it's also hard because, one, some of us do not have the IDs, not because we are not refugees, but because we did not even get the chance to get it. For you to get it, there is really a very high task of you getting it. So some scholarship come, but because you don't have that ID, and yes, you're a refugee, but you don't have the ID, you won't apply. And that's another chance that you're missing out just because you don't have the ID. So if the communities or if the RLOs and the CBOs can come together and share out exactly how we feel and the things that we go through, I don't think there's a great intervention for this. And if all of you out there can hear out, children are suffering, especially women. We had a training for women about how they can support themselves and carry out businesses. Where are you going to carry out the business? Because, of course, if you start a business right now, don't think it's just going to be there. People will come and harass you. You're not supposed to do the business here. You're not supposed to do it there. You're not supposed to do this. It becomes a problem. So I am really asking us here to carry out the voice, just like they say, the future with Wakimbizi. Yes, I am a Wakimbizi, right? That's a singular form, right? I am a great Wakimbizi. And there's a lot that we are crying for, but we cannot access. So please, I am only requesting that if there is a voice that you can take out there, things are not easy. Thank you.
I'm in Bolis, working with Invo Empowering Refugees. It's a community-led organization. I just want to give a few recommendations, particularly focusing on what we call inclusive economy. As we look at this country, the big idea behind this, I think, with the feature with the Wakimbizi is all about what we call making refugees become self-reliant. And in this aspect, we actually need to look at, okay, as much as the job market in Kenya is that saturated with what we call the graduates from universities and all those things. But now how can refugees be included in that aspect of it? Because I had a discussion with a friend from Canada, and we are trying to look at how we can maybe bring what we call a parallel education that can be able to support refugees to become, for instance, if you, let's take an example of Jen Marie here, is an IT expert. Somebody from Silicon Valley cannot refuse to hire him just basically because he's a refugee. So I think we need to look at the aspect of how we can maybe make refugees be able to have what we call have this access to documentation that can be able to have them an international employment. Because there's what we call payable, but now getting to have that payable account, you definitely need to have what we call a refugee ID that can help you to link a bank account to the payable account, which the other day was so much frustrated. In Thika town, I went to KRA office and they told me your information is not in the system. Can you visit Time Star so that they can be able to trace your information because the ID is not that valid. So I think is the aspect of us looking at the. I come from Kakuma, and in Kakuma I think is one of the most vibrant economy of the refugees. And you look in that camp, there is a refugee who can even lend money to other fellow refugees because he has established himself very well. So if refugees are given that space of what we call doing an economy aspect of it, is whereby I think they can build up to a large percentage of the income of this country. I remember there was a study that was done by Oxford University, and they look at it in the camp setup. Almost 60% of them, the money circulation within the camp is within the camp setups. So I think that's refugees need to be empowered, and also let's consider the aspect of what we call inclusive economy so that they can become what we call self-reliant. And this will not force the organization now to bring in the food aid and all those things, because refugees, once they have an access to quality education like any other person, and I think of which we have been advocating for it in the different interventions, so that refugees can access the same information education system like any other person. I'm a development studies student, pursuing bachelor. So the aspect is how can we bring refugees to the host country development aspect of it, so that they can also become contributors to the economy of that country. So I think with that, if we can be able to talk with the different stakeholders to try to see how maybe refugees can be integrated into the economy of the country, then there will be a great impact in terms of the country economy development. So I think that was the recommendation that I wanted, and I think I really appreciate Coherent, represented by Ruth here and other fellows from Hires and Julia. So I think let's try to push this one with the government and different other stakeholders, so that refugees can be integrated within the economy of the country, and that will lift the burden of what people are perceiving, that refugees are the burden to the country's economy. Because my lecturer in university said a question the other day, are refugees a burden to the economy of this country? So, and I argue it from a positive note, because I know very well how refugees are what we call viable people to this economy of this country. So that's what recommendation that I wanted to add on top of it. And thank you so much to YVC and the other teams that are doing this. Thank you so much.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
I'm in Bolis, working with Envo Empowering Refugees. It's a community-led organization. I just want to give a few recommendations, particularly focusing on what we call inclusive economy. As we look at this country, the big idea behind this, I think with the feature with the Wakimbizi, is all about what we call making refugees become self-reliant. And in this aspect, we actually need to look at, okay, as much as the job market in Kenya is that saturated with what we call the graduates from universities and all those things, but now how can refugees be included in that aspect of it? Because I had a discussion with a friend from Canada, and we are trying to look at how we can maybe bring what we call a parallel education that can be able to support refugees to become, for instance, if you, let's take an example of Jen Marie here, is an IT expert. Somebody from Silicon Valley cannot refuse to hire him just basically because he's a refugee. So I think we need to look at the aspect of how we can maybe make refugees be able to have what we call have this access to documentation that can be able to have them an international employment. Because there's what we call payable, but now getting to have that payable account, you definitely need to have what we call a refugee ID that can help you to link a bank account to the payable account, which the other day was so much frustrated. in Thika town, like I went to KRA office and they told me your information is not in the system. Can you visit Time Star so that they can be able to trace your information because the ID is not that valid. So I think is the aspect of us looking at the, I come from Kakuma. And in Kakuma I think is one of the most vibrant economy of the refugees. And you look in that camp, there is the refugee who can even lend money to other fellow refugees because he has established himself very well. So if refugees are given that space of what we call being an economy aspect of it, is whereby I think they can build up to a large percentage of the income of this country. I remember there was a study that was done by Oxford University, and they look at it in the camp setup. Almost 60% of them, the money circulation within the camp is within the camp setups. So I think that's like refugees need to be empowered, and also like let's consider the aspect of what we call inclusive economy, so that they can become what we call self-reliant. And this will not force the organization now to bring in the food aid and all those things, because refugees, once they have an access to quality education like any other person, and I think of which we have been advocating for it in the different interventions, so that like refugees can access the same information education system like any other person. I'm a development studies student, pursuing bachelor. So like the aspect is how can we bring refugees to the host country development aspect of it, so that like they can be also become a contributors to the economy of that country. So I think with that, if we can be able to talk with the different stakeholders to try to see how maybe refugees can be integrated into the economy of the country, then there will be a great impact in terms of the country economy development. So I think that was the recommendation that I wanted, and I think I really appreciate Coherent, like represented by Ruth here and other fellows from Hires and Julia. So I think like let's try to push this one with the government and different other stakeholders, so that like refugees can be what we call integrated within the economy of the country, and that will lift the burden of what people are perceiving, that refugees are the burden to the country's economy. Because like my lecturer in university said a question the other day, are refugees a burden to the economy of this country? So, and I argue it from a positive note, because I know very well how refugees are what we call viable people to this economy of this country. So that's what recommendation that I wanted to add on top of it. And thank you so much to YVC and the other team that are doing this. Thank you so much.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Good morning. I think it is still morning. Yes. Good morning. Are you sleeping? No. You're not sleeping, huh? My name is Lucy Jua, and I'm in the community, working in the community. At the same time, I'm working for Hires as a community outreach worker. The first thing I would like to say is that I would like to congratulate these youth voices, because it has been a long way. It has come a long way. And what I would like to say is for us to reach here, we really like to give thanks to the government of Kenya and even the UNHCR. Before, we did not have this opportunity. It has been a long lobby that we have been doing. I have few colleagues whom we have been lobbying with them together. I have James there. I have Ojuni. Since 2008, this is how people have been lobbying. Before, you do not have opportunity even to stand here to talk what you want to talk about. But I would like to appreciate the government of Kenya that have really given us opportunity. And today, refugees are shining. If you can stand here today and express, and Jean-Marie is here, the chairperson, I really appreciate that. And because it has not been an easy work. And what I would like to urge you is, I just have only one recommendation. Continue lobbying. It has been a long way, lobbying for us to reach here. Continue lobbying with the government. You know, you cannot enforce your activity upon the government. It is you to go and nail, and because you are the one who needs something from the government, and it is you to go and lobby on behalf of the refugee. If you have put that word lobby, you are not enforcing what you have for the refugees upon them, you will be able to succeed. Like the people who have been doing it before. And the stakeholders, please involve the stakeholders. They have learned a lot. I think when they started, some of you maybe have not yet been born. So there is a lot of things behind it. Is that true? Yeah, there is a lot of things behind it. So you should continue to lobby, and you should continue to be able to help your people. And I don't know where the legal issue fall. The legal issue for the refugees is very important. I don't know which you have put. You have put them in under which principles. I think that one should be also your activity, because you might have the documentation, but if you don't know the law, you cannot be able to implement what you want. You might be lobbying with the top people, and if you don't integrate in the community, you will not be able to implement your business in the community. If the community has refused you, like my daughter was saying that when she wrote there, she wrote something where she can do hair and she can do beauty. So you see the people who came and talking to her, you can't do this. As you lobby to the high position, to the government, to the UNHCR, and to the partners, please let's create a forum also for the host community at the base, at the grassroots, whereby I advise like such meeting, it is good also to invite them to come so that they can be able to participate and they can be able to pass the information to the rest. This is just one comment that I wanted to give. Thank you very much.
I think I want to retain my status as a refugee. I don't want to speak on behalf of Kituo. Because I want to tell you that how good we can do. But of course, I'm just joking. But I would touch a few. I don't want to lecture. Whatever is there on the document is that, as it has been said, just it has come to be the law. It is an act now that governs the presence of refugees in Kenya. And as it is, it might not be very meaningful at its current status. They have to develop some policies, and that policies is now just what make the work just to trickle down, just to ensure that if it will really benefit refugees. Yes, it is a good document that you need to familiarize yourself with, and as such, a time might come, like this, like today, where you will be needed just to come and contribute and share what you think is relevant to you. So I know there is opportunity where some of you will be there and share your views, and specifically on documentation. Yes, it is a progressive document. It has given some and taken away some. And now it is up to you just to step in heavily and friendly, as Lucy has said. Let me leave Kituo there. Just let me assume my not residents, but a refugee in Kenya. Just borrowing some words from Jean-Marie. I'm very happy and very grateful that as refugees we have moved and came to this stage where we are today. Jean-Marie, Adior, Amin, James, Yendak, and several others are the testimony of the long journey that we have embarked into. And this is not the end of it. You can see at our time, I think we are used to tick some boxes to ensure that we are just called into some forums, into meetings, and say that just the meeting had refugees in the midst. But today, refugees are leading it. I would like you guys to say thank you for what you're talking about. Where we came from, it was a cocktail of bravery, humbleness, and being tactful. You may think you are powerful up until the powerful speaks. We are lobbying, we are advocating. We can't afford just to tune ourselves into a combative mood with the government. We have partial legal presence in the country. You take an example of what happened when border guys are out there thinking that they are the ones who control the street. And the president spoke, and you have seen what had happened. My message to you is that, like Esther has talked about, Jean-Marie has talked, James and several other people just have talked in different forums. I think Jean-Marie is a testimony of brilliance, opportunity, And actually not only opportunity might come your way, but if you have not prepared yourself, it will just pass like a cloud. Just grab it and get good use of it. The reason, actually just by the time just you are trying to pass the mic to Madam Lucy, I think she was trying to pass a message that she's a veteran in this war. Not a war, in this struggle. Gilbert is here, James Brindo is here, Lucy is here. I don't see some few other faces like Said Abuka, John Sarugo, and several others who have really tried to come this far. For me, as someone who has some engagement or maybe have a little opportunity just maybe sometimes to decide on behalf of the organizations, I can't say it without any fear or contradiction. I think some of the employee has taken the refugee status as an issue of job security. And you can't afford to thrive at the expense of suffering of others. This is so emotional, it touches me, and not only me, several others who are seated here. So just mine is to say that this is a very perfect example that you guys have taken advantage of this, the skills that you have acquired from schools. And also, this is a very serious reward. I assume you guys have come as very young guys. Like for me, just I came here with my two other brothers, and one of them, okay, just managed to go forward, but the last born just decided that just I can't continue living in such a life. Let me go back and face the giant. Even if they are going to kill me, let it be so. But for you, you persevered, you developed yourself, and you have come this far. This is not the end of the journey. You need to put on more courage, more partnership, and create and expand your network. But at the end of the day, just you ensure that just you are working together with the host community, especially the local community, who would be now just your support system as you are engaging in the community. I think it was a mix of several other things. I have never seen such a setup. It is my first time where refugees themselves are the ones leading the agenda. And this should not be the midst or the end of it, but rather should be a chapter in the very long journey to come. And I know and I believe strongly that you guys, with all the skills and all with the knowledge that you will acquire from your learning institutions, will take this thing far and make it much more beneficial, even for someone who have not even thought of being a refugee one day. Just be the foundation and be now just the support system for them. Thank you so much. I hope to interact with you in the future.
Thank you so much. Thank you, brother, for the input.
Nasema tena habari za asubuhi. I'm James Birindo Makanda, Congolese by nationality, working with the organization called Africa to Africa Mediation. It's a refugee-led organization. We are based in Nasra Estate, karibu kwa Mama Lucy. And I'm happy to be here among the other team. Yangu ni mafupi tu. I want just to talk about what the other colleague was saying about mahali tumetoka na mahali tumefika ni Ebeneza. That is people saying in Kiswahili. One thing that you are forgetting, talking about documentation, you are talking about what government of Kenya can do and what they are not able to do. Forgetting one thing that was like hindered somewhere, forget talking about it. And I normally talk about it most of the time. We remember we started long time ago, designing project, designing a lot of program, CBO coming up. Some of them, they are not going far because of one thing. It's not because of government, but also partners working with the UNHCR and government, some of the NGOs. They didn't give us space that we can do what we are doing today. And I'm glad that our colleagues now are somewhere and doing, facilitating this session. For me, that is a plus. But not forget talking about other partners, coming to the community, encouraging a refugee-led organization to start doing what we are doing. And when you give them a proposal with the good ideas, thinking that they will support you or they will sponsor your program, the next day we find you are just giving an invitation to come to participate for the exactly the same program that you gave them. So it's still pen, and we'll still talk about it. Why coming to the community, come up with a lot of survey and borrow the ideas and think that will support this CBO and the refugee-led organization, and the next day you are the one who is implementing this program. So for me, I'm here just to appeal at the partners, Kituo cha Sheria, RCK, name them, UNHCR, and other organization hires that please start now building up trust of the refugee-led organization, that we are able also to implement a number of programs for our colleague refugees in the community. And the second, don't forget, when we design the program, because my core program in Africa to Africa is to advocate for inclusion of personal disability. Please, anything that we are doing in our project, in our designing, please don't forget refugees living with personal disabilities are among us, and we are doing a lot of things with them. Like one, we are making sure that we are train all organizations to have one person who can be sign language translator. And if you need to be trained, soon we are starting this program, and we are facilitating everything, your movement, your time, please, because we want to make sure that we have a total inclusion in our program. So thanks so much for the opportunities. I can see we are going far, and we are doing good. Jamari, thanks so much. At least umekuwa kielelezo. Sisi wote. And the other team, Lucy, like Lucy, Madam Lucy amesema na wengine, ya kwamba my appeal is make sure you include personal disabilities and other organizations, our stakeholders. Please build trust for refugees-led organization. Thank you so much.
Thank you all for refugees for your input, stakeholders, but thank you so much for stepping in. On the bill, yes, it is almost the same, but then it's non-resident resident. We are that one. But then still, it doesn't favor us. Yeah? The integration in terms of education, it refers to the integration in terms of the camps, yeah? Where we have the primary school and we have the high school and we have the technical training centers, but then it does not touch on the tertiary in the new bill. It does not touch the tertiary education for refugees. It does not touch where the refugees falls when it comes to the tertiary education.
My name is Mary Wangoi, for those who hadn't arrived when we spoke earlier this morning. I feel like there's a lot of pressure, and I don't know if to speak for Refuge Point or for Mary, but I think I want to start by saying I'm really, really proud of the team at YVC, and not just them. I think I want to applaud. If you've interacted with me, you know how often I say that I truly admire the courage to stand out and speak about issues in the society that are not going right. And I know it takes bravery, and I know there are things that are not right, but we are working on them. I also want to applaud the team at YVC for taking on the assignment to do the research. We have a lot of research that has been done, but often presented by people who are not refugees. So it is a big moment. I kept feeling like this is so huge that we have refugees speaking about refugees. And if you noticed, when both Jean and Chacha spoke, they would say us, us and we, and that is good, because then you're using terms that you feel you agree with. So I really do applaud you for even agreeing to partner with Yarid, to work with Data for Change and doing a good job where at it. Because it's one thing also to be given an assignment, and it's another to do it really well. And I think when you were given that task, you took it on and you did a great job. And that's why, even as we look at the results, even the presentation is really good. You have come out of figures. Have you ever gone to a data presentation meeting and it was so boring, if I could put it like that? Because it's all figures and figures, but you have put in even a visual aspect to it. So professionally, you've also done a good job. And I'm not saying this because you're refugees. I am just saying, as an organization, you did an outstanding job. And even getting us here today and breaking down an 87-page PowerPoint presentation into something that was fit into 30 minutes and get us into a conversation, that is really good. And I applaud you. I applaud you for that. I also want to thank Cohere, Xavier. I have heard a lot of you saying you've worked under their mentorship. So on one side, I know we say there's lack of trust between partners and RLOs, but I also really thank those that trusted you when you were younger, mentored you, are still here walking the journey. We hope at Refuge Point that we can also be able to take on a few more, mentor you, work with you, and not just ourselves. Gilbert or those who have come to the meetings that we've had at our office, I have said it is not just partners who can empower RLOs. We have RLOs at such different places that we are also able to empower one another along the way. And when we work together, when we compete less and really just push one another forward, then I feel like there is hope, to be honest. I feel like there is hope. And the next 10 years or 5 will be much different from where we are today. So thank you too to Cohere. On to the findings, I agree with the findings completely. I think we have talked about documentation. We have talked about it today. It has been a big issue. On a personal level, sorry if I'm diverting, but on a personal level, my research project at the university was actually to find out the biggest contributors to the success of a business, and with variables that included funding, policies, documentation, and levels of integration. But at the end of the day, documentation and policies were still the biggest contributor to the success of a business. So while we have so many of us as partners giving out money for business, and sorry, if you quote this, it's not Refuge Point speaking, it is Mary speaking. While we have so many of us in programming and giving money towards business, which is necessary, it is still very true that if you do not have the documentation to do business, if the policies are not favoring you to do business, then it doesn't matter how much money is given to you. You are still likely to fail within a very short time of that business. So on a personal level, I do agree, and even work-wise as Refuge Point, we've had this, and we've been told this, and we try, and I think we are going to continue trying to lobby with the right desks. And that was one of the things that I was going to say, that we will continue to work with you as YVC. We will continue to lobby. I like Ojuni's wording. We will lobby even to bring the government to the table, UNHCR to the table, and at the end of the day, even us as Refuge Point we are at the mercy of the government of Kenya to work with refugees. So even our tone has to be right. I have always said that. But it is better when we find the right tone and get things going. So I think one thing that I would say out of this, just from my end, is I am very much willing to sit further with the leadership of YVC to see how we can get a forum that brings these decision makers to the table. I don't know who would be available, but let's push until we can get even just this kind of a forum, but with the right participants, and let's keep talking to them. And I like to see Cohere here and Ruth, we work very closely. So let's see if we can push the conversation forward to also see. And when we have that, let us invite a few more leaders so that the voices are still strong in that room, so that we don't have 1 or 2 leaders, RLO leaders. We still have a big group. And again, we will find a way to have that conversation without it being confrontational, but let's keep talking about it and identifying advocacy points that really push this through. I know there are things that won't be done immediately, and I appreciate that, because we are also, there are a lot of other factors I know that even the government takes into consideration, and even UNHCR. But let's see if there are a few things that can start to move forward. With regard to the Refugee Act, now it's an act, I've had it mentioned. I'll have a session in April, and I'll give a date and do an invitation to RLOs, where we just get to understand it better and get to see what it is saying, because that's the first step. And in fact, I would challenge you to read it, and that day when we have that session, let us ask questions. I have asked an officer from IRC who is very much part of, I think, the team that drafted, to come and join us on that day. If Kitua would be available, I'll shoot them a letter and see if they can come. We'll just bring a few people on board. Again, sit on the desk and see what does it say, and what does this mean, and what is possible now and what is not. Because at the end of the day, we are also bearers of information in the community. People look up to us. So it's good that the information that we have is correct.
Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to be here. I will speak a little bit first about what Kitu is doing at the moment to work on durable solutions for refugees, and then I'll speak a little bit just from myself as Larissa as well. So right now, Kitu is actually in the process of filing a public interest litigation case, and what we are doing is we're looking at the stages to get to permanent residency and citizenship. So at the moment, we are engaging in research to find the perfect candidate for our case. And firstly, we are looking at those who have been in the country of Kenya, refugees, asylum seekers, for at least 7 years. That's our first group that we're looking at. And then the second group are those who have applied for work permits, both those who have been unsuccessful and successful. Because in order to get permanent residency and United citizenship, you need to have that work permit. So we're looking at that. We're also looking at those who have applied for permanent residency, both who were successful and unsuccessful. And then lastly, those who have applied for citizenship, who were successful and unsuccessful. And with this, we hope to find at least one person to match each of these categories who meets all of the criteria according to the bill, but who was unsuccessful. And then we will take those people to court and file our public interest litigation case. So that is what Kitu is doing at the moment. We expect to have all of this done. We're collecting the research the whole month of March and April, and we expect to have the case filed by May, the latest, before the election season comes in. So I'll just speak a little bit as Larissa as well. So I'm from the US, and I think the perception in the US is like always be the person who's up there speaking as opposed to sitting back and listening. And I just really appreciate the way that this whole forum was set up to really amplify refugee voices. Amplify refugee matters with refugee voices themselves, because that is something that is definitely not prioritized in the West in general. So I'm just happy to have been able to be invited to be a listener in this conversation, and it's sad almost that the people who need to be involved the most are the ones who aren't sitting in this room, which is not only the Kenyan government, but also like people from my own country who are in charge of refugee affairs and who create policies that then affect the policies in Kenya and for refugees themselves. So I think that is the biggest challenge, getting those involved in the conversation who need to be sitting here most, who aren't at the moment. So thank you so much for having me here and giving me the chance to speak. I really appreciate being here. And Ojuni is I'm only an intern at Kitu. Ojuni is the permanent staff member at Kitu. So if you have any more questions or want to connect with Kitu further, you can definitely talk to Ojuni. Thank you.
Without further ado, I would welcome our brother Douglas from Oasis Madare.
I was not expecting that. My name is Douglas Mondi, and I've known these kids No. Yeah, I've known them since they were in high school. That is Jean, Chocho, and George, and I think Ishimwe. No, the other team are not around. I've known them since they were in high school, and at one point they were my protege. Always working with the Xavier Project, now Coherent. Or is it Cohere or Coherent? Coherent. Good. And I've said that they were once my protege because I've worked with them on a number of projects as equal partners, and I'm really super proud of them. So let's just appreciate on the work that they're doing. So wonderful presentation, really solid recommendation. I'm not going to add anything. Besides that, I'll just mention a few what we do at Wasimadare. So Wasimadare, we leverage on tech to reduce illiteracy. And I think what refugees might be interested in is we're doing a crash course of software engineering, like a 4 years degree to 8 months. That's happening at a hub in Madare. So we are located right along Juja Road, just behind DCC or Chief. So yeah, that's all I can say for now.
We put our hands together for our Farm Foundation. And our Farm Foundation was once Xavier Project and now Cohere. So one of you. Cohere.
Thanks guys. We are Cohere, formerly Xavier Project. Cohere came together at the beginning of this year with bringing together Xavier Project and urban refugees. We decided to come together because we know that to really make change, we need to work together. And we were doing lots of the same work, and we decided that, we're stronger together. And we're super proud to be here, super proud of our partners. We started working with YBC in 2016, but we're just getting started, guys. It's been a real journey, but it really is only just beginning. So Julia is going to talk about our advocacy work, and then I can say a little bit more about Cohere.
Okay. Hi everyone. Hi. Hi. So I'm the research and advocacy advisor for Cohere, and I'm doing research on refugee meaningful participation as named by UNHCR. And we as Cohere think that the word meaningful participation is problematic. And why? Because we believe that meaningful participation should be from us, the stakeholders, meaningfully participating in your decisions, in you leading your own actions to support your community. And it's really cool to be here to see that it's what is happening now. Like, we are here as stakeholders and we're meaningfully participating to this event that you created as an RLO. Like, you didn't wait for us to create an event and to give you a space where you could speak. No, you created the space and you called us, and we were here and we listened to your advocacy recommendations. We're not writing the advocacy recommendations and say, oh, we should consult RLOs and what do I think about it? No, you did the research, you did the advocacy recommendations, and you share it with us, and you are advocating for us as your target who can take your advocacy recommendations to the final decision makers. So really, big applause for that, because it's refugee leadership in action happening now, and I'm super happy to see it. And this also shows how the sector is, the term meaningful participation, how the sector is really not ready and doesn't know how to support and to welcome refugee leadership. We're trying to give you a space, but I don't know, you have the answers, and we can see that now. And we see that this is not a baby step, it's a big step, and you are really here showing us how refugee leadership works, right? And that we should learn how to step back, figure out how to step back and become the allies of solution makers that you are. That's it. So what did I want to say? Yeah, so this research action that I'm trying to conduct is about how so UNHCR in 2019 conveyed like a lot of stakeholders to write pledges for the Global Refugee Forum, and one of these pledges was about refugee meaningful participation. And UNHCR supported the pledge makers to update their pledges in 2021 and share their progresses, but they didn't give the possibility to share what were the challenges to implementing refugee meaningful participation. And so this is like the research is about what are the barriers to meaningful participation that everyone have met. And so if you would like perhaps to talk with me at the end of the session, like if you've been trying to participate in a decision, in a coordination space or in an NGO decision-making process, yeah, or in any place where decisions happen on the refugee response and you met some barriers, please talk to me. The contribution can be anonymized, and yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Julie. Yeah, so we are really excited about what lies ahead. These are, amazing forums to come together and voice what really matters and what needs to change. Advocacy is, we really want to see change. We believe that it's not about transferring aid, it's about transferring power, and that needs to happen. People say that power is not given, it is taken, and it is time for you guys to take control over the decisions which impact your lives. And yeah, we're here to support you in any way that we can in that journey. So thank you for having us. We look forward to working together for many more years.
So my name is Ruth from Cohere as well. You've heard from our advocacy team. As you can hear, we are trying as hard as possible to really, really influence and change the way the industry is doing things, and change has come, right? This is not the same industry that was there 5 years ago. As NGOs like ours, we are changing, and we are trying to influence others to change as well. You've heard how we're trying to coordinate with Refuge Point, other organizations, RLOs like you, because you have to lead. You have to drive the conversations, you have to drive the change, and we follow your lead. So I just wanted to say we are very, very happy to be a part of this. Thank you for always inviting us. And remember just to keep being bold. Let's keep challenging the sector, and let's keep changing and creating meaningful change for everyone. Thank you.
Good evening, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Emmanuel Wedniak. I'm coming here on behalf of Brilliant Kenya. My colleague is not here, the project coordinator, John Paul. He has some other engagement, and he assigned me to come and present two things to this function. One is just message of solidarity, and also to share the challenges that refugees-led organizations do undergo together. So without further ado, we are standing with you, especially youth voice community. We have seen how far have you came. We remember during COVID-19, we did not have the status we have right now. We were actually the few individuals, and I can see Mr. Gilbert is there, and also Africa to Africa Mediations. And Ponish is not here. What happened when COVID-19 lockdown was imposed in March 2020 in Kenya? It shocked everyone. I think government was not prepared, neither the NGO. So everyone was grounded at home, and there was so much happening, including misinformation, and also myth about COVID-19. What happened with refugees was that Ponish is not here, and also Gilbert is around, and John Marie. We sit down at somewhere, because most of us are not privileged to live in the expensive area of Nairobi. So we are always there. So we sit down and we said, what should we do? Refugees are lacking information. They lost their job. They are not working, and vulnerability was becoming too much. What should we do? And that is when Mr. Gilbert was able to send a message. He was said, if you find anyone who is more vulnerable, please refer to us. He did not have anything in his account or in his store, but with the hope that any resource we have, we can pull together to help the refugees. And that is when Jomari, I don't know, he left, Oni and the rest, we tried to raise some amount, and that was our first intervention about COVID-19. After that, it was partnership of some organization we were not registered. So why am I telling you this story? Is that academically there is a theory. It's called toothpaste trap. It was developed during Athenian War. So the trap stated, when a new player emerges, the most powerful one always beats challenge. And it is being used by scholars to describe the competition between the United States of America and China. So we want to dispel that myth. Refugees are not challenging any status, whether it's from state or NGO. We are here to supplement your work. It is the need that we have seen in the community. We have seen so much that when NGO were not around, we could not just sit and suffering. And that's where this issue of community-led, refugees-led organization come into life. We are not in competitions, and this is the misperception we normally receive. We raised this at African Union level because there was also having misconception, and it was clarified, and they are looking forward to partnership also with a few of us. So please help this refugees-led organization. We are not taking your job. In fact, they are creating job for both Kenyan and refugees, because it's you who came up with those policies. You have a charter for change, which states that 25% should go to localization. You also form a law like global refugees-led organization, global compact for refugees. And it has 4 elements. First element is that to reduce the pressure from the host community. The other one, make refugees self-reliant and finding pathways, among others. And how refugees are going to be self-reliant if they are not allowed or create environment which is conducive. It won't happen. We'll just be talking and go back again to big cities to make policies and pronouncements without any having impact. And that's why the change must start with our partners. And we are thankful especially to Refuge Point, Cohere, now it was Xavier, and also urban refugees. We have seen that partnership. When Julia came, it was different organization, but when he sees the need, they are able to partner with the Kituo, Xavier, and to ensure refugees are helped. And that is something we do not take it for granted. We thank you, all organizations which are here, including Kituo, and also UNHCR, because it has been a voice. And we are not forgetting the government of Kenya, because it created this environment. Because rarely some countries, even refugees and organizations are not registered. Leave alone even refugees organization. There was research I was undertaking about Ethiopia. Even national NGO does not receive funding from outside. So you have to thank Kenya that you can transfer some funds from outside and do activities. It's something we should not take for granted. So we are appealing to anyone, please let partner. Because being refugees nowadays, it can happen in just a flash. Look, for example, what happened in Ukraine. Those people were busy with their life, funding, going on with their activities. But Russia started bombing them. So it can happen to anyone. So we should not just, let's be prepared. Whether you are well off, always look out for the need of others. Thank you so much, and we want to assure you, Youth Boys community, Roland Kenya is with you in every step. Thank you so much.
We would like to welcome our a civil educator as refugees that have been trying to push for us to be part of the public participation here and there to participate in the things that are going on in Kenya. So let us welcome Pamoja Trust. Joy, you're welcome from Pamoja Trust, if she's here.
And also as Joy to be in this space. And for us, it was all about, we felt like this was a new space, an invited space that we need to know what they do and see whether we can be part of it. So basically, I'll just say what Pamoja Trust has been doing, and especially in regards to the refugees. And it's a space that currently we've just started like last year with my friend over there, Gilbert. And our main agenda, the first one was actually to train our communities, and that is a host Kenyan, to how to integrate with refugees. Like most of you have said, if you have even a business, like the lady said, if you cannot integrate with the community, well, then there is no way your business is going to grow. There is no way you're going to get support from the community around you. The second thing, and majorly, it's also been capacity enhancement for the RLOs. I know most of the RLOs here have met my colleagues in the ground on the trainings. So basically, we've been trying to, like you said also, if you have the right, you're willing to do things for the refugees as RLOs, but you don't have structures that help you, or even know the places you need to go for such an assistance, who you need to connect to. You know, you need structures as an RLO. So Pamoja Trust greatly has been capacity building the RLOs in different sections of Nairobi. Lastly, and most important, Pamoja Trust is also involved in the policy space, where we've been training and also trying to influence on the policies that are already in place, and also trying to change the policies that are already ongoing, so that we can see how the refugees community can be involved in a simple thing like recently we've been doing some trainings on public finance, like how are the refugees involved in getting to know the community where they stay, how they can get involved in the county processes, the budget processes, because at the end of the day, these policies will also affect how the refugees interact and how they get included in the economic growth. I didn't expect to say much. And lastly, also, I would also want to say that Pamoja Trust is in the process of developing a policy paper on the Act, on the Refugee Act. So I think when you guys are having the meeting, we will try and deliver some copies so that it's easy for all of us, even the people who are not in law like me, to understand the Act better and also know how it influences us and how and where we can make the changes that are needed. Thank you so much.
This juncture, let me welcome our sister Pauline from Slam TV. Pauline, you're welcome.
Good afternoon. I don't know why they've abandoned me. Thank you very much. I think I'm surprised that, like everyone else, to be here. Let me introduce my colleagues. George Karanja is with AGMA, and he's our resource person for advocacy. We couldn't leave him behind, and capacity building. For those of you who are looking for capacity building for RELON and RLOs, this is your man. Please look for him. He is amazing with governance. I came with my colleague, Faith Kanini, amazing in community building. I come from Slam TV, and we are a media organization. And the reason why we started working with refugees, we have a project inside Slam TV called Paza Sauti. We want to work with urban refugee women. Because guess what? Looking here, I don't see any media. It troubles me when I go somewhere and I wonder who is going to tell this wonderful story. Sitting at the back there, I was just thinking, there are so many amazing stories that could be told. It's not even news. Movies, features, docus. I'm sitting there thinking, and this is just gonna end and we'll all go home. Who cares? Are we talking to ourselves?
Only me.
Yes. Museveni knows how passionate I am. So we want to tell stories about refugees, and I hope you'll support us. We've worked with JRS. Thank you, Mary. Mary has connected us with Botopra. We were hoping to meet you, Jean-Marie, very soon. We've only been around for 3 months, and we want to tell their stories. We want to tell them using video, meaning we want to make movies, we want to make documentaries, and we also want to tell them using podcasts, we want to do radio. So we'll be coming to you. We will be coming to the RLOs, we'll be coming to the CBOs, and we'll be coming to the stakeholders as we've started. We want to talk about refugees anyhow and any way that we can, using any media that is possible. We want to get the story out, because guess what? I was taught, I started my first degree in advertising, and I was taught that the first rule of advertising or storytelling is, if nobody is hearing you or seeing you, it's like a young man winking at a girl in the dark. He can wink all he wants, but the girl will never know. So the truth of the matter is, as I sit there at the back, I just see so many wonderful, amazing stories, and we would like to be part of the storytelling. Nobody else is telling these stories except us, so please clap for us. At least we've come. Thank you very much. Thank you, Dagi. We come from Mathare with Douglas. He's pretending not to know us, because when he came, he was introduced as the king of Mathare or what? We are located at Mlango Kubwa with Dagi. He knows us. Dagi unatujua, wacha kujifanya. And we are also, I think we are going to be the queens, because we are a project in Mathare. We are going to be the queens of Mathare. So next time, Dagi, you are called, please call us to be next to you. Thank you very much.
Yes, let's give a round of applause for ourselves again. Amazing. Well, I don't want to take much time, just to say really genuine, sincere thanks to all of you who've made time to come and hear about the future with Wakimbizi. I've seen someone that we've not given a chance. So there's Mercy here from International Cultural Exchange Youth Program. So I'd love to say hi, maybe.
Everything is counterproductive. So we hope through our volunteer programs, I would say, create awareness about the status of refugees in Kenya. Because, I'm looking around, and there's a huge network of volunteer involving organizations that would even help with lobbying, But I think I'm the only one here, I don't know. So there's a huge gap there, and I want to thank you for the opportunity of bringing us into your space. And I'm open to hear how volunteer organizations can collaborate with community organizations in making sure that we are inclusive in our programs. Thank you.
We've said that this project is going for 2 years, so we have this whole year, and next year someone said here that, I think someone said this should not be the end of the road. It should be a start of a big chapter. So we'll be doing a lot more sessions that we will want you to be part of, and we sincerely appreciate that you've been welcoming already. But to build this future, we will have to be together. We cannot run with this alone. So thank you so much. I think I don't really want to speak much. That's it.